Good evening. There was a seismic shift today as authorities try to crush Sydney's mega-rich tobacco cartels. Police targeting a major independent service station chain with coordinated raids on multiple servos from Alexandria to Lanier.
Not satisfied with tackling small cigarette shops, Canberra has made it clear it's now going after the big boys.
At Metro Fuel today,
who gave you permission to film?
Australia's tobacco wars mixing fuel with fury. Nationwide raids on Australia's biggest independent service station network, where the allegations are damning.
Over 100 service stations are suspected of some involvement in the illicit tobacco trade.
Raids from coast to coast are the biggest single strike on the market to date. 5 states and the ACT.
Hundreds of officers from the Australian Border Force, the Australian Federal Police.
They pounced this morning, shutting down driveways, blocking off entrances, then scouring stockrooms, cupboards, cabinets and drawers.
We'll now go through that investigation, have a look at the evidence.
But already confirmation of seizures at least some sites which have been locked up and shut down.
Across the country there have been closures.
Metro is owned by brothers John and George Dibb. From the company tonight, Metro has a zero-tolerance approach to the sale of illicit tobacco and vaping products. Each site is run by an independent operator that is a separate legal entity from Metro.
When you can pay for a similar product 3 to 4 times less by going into an illegal outlet, then the temptation for individuals and the temptation for companies to do that becomes pretty significant.
We're coming after you to disrupt the supply chain at every point.
Of all the sites raided across Sydney today, at least 4 remain closed tonight, including one at Ingleburn where authorities found evidence of black market trade. Those sites now subject to the mandatory 90-day closure. I'm here at Metro in Alexandria, one of the many sites inspected today, where it's business as usual tonight. Now, because each of the Metro sites is independently owned, head office tells us it won't know until it hears from authorities or even the franchisees themselves just how many sites are affected. Now, anyone in New South Wales caught selling illegal tobacco faces 7 years in jail and fines of up to $1.5 million.
Clementine Cuneo, thank you. We've now been given a clearer picture on that breaking news we had last night. A knife-wielding man brought down on a Burwood street. 2 officers have been praised for their brave actions, pulling their weapons on the man and tasering him to the ground.
On a busy Burwood street,
put the knife down!
A 43-year-old man holds a knife in each hand, both around 30 centimetres long, a young probationary constable meeting him with a taser. His partner demanding that at least 9 times before the man does, on Belmore Street at 4:15 yesterday afternoon.
Police jump on him and then, he threw the weapon, fall on the floor. And then I was a bit scared.
Police alleged they'd seen 2 men acting suspiciously. They now believe the 43-year-old and a 26-year-old were part of a drug deal that didn't go to plan. The duo tried to flee from police. Then the older man allegedly pulled the knives from his pockets.
Yeah, and I tried to close the door at that time, just protect the people in the store.
And it wasn't just the weapons in his hand.
We will allege he had cannabis, methamphetamine, an additional 2 knives and a hammer in a backpack.
The younger man apprehended and given a court attendance notice.
This is what policing is about, having the bravery and courage to step up.
The 43-year-old man remains under police guard in hospital, and once he's discharged, it's likely he'll be hit with a range of charges.
We would be looking at something like using a weapon to avoid apprehension. He had a knife in a public place.
And it could have ended a lot worse. Rex Quayle, 7 News.
A powerful earthquake has rocked Colombia, killing at least 132 people, with many more feared trapped under mountains of rubble.
The epicentre of the magnitude 7.4 quake was near San Jose del Palma on the western side of the country, 240 kilometres from the capital, Bogota. Australians have been caught up in the chaos, a state of emergency declared.
Panic and chaos in Western Colombia as people search for safety in the streets, buildings cracking and eventually giving way. Homes, shops, livelihoods overpowered as the earth beneath shakes. Colombians clinging to each other, helpless as a historic cathedral crumbles.
The Gothic cathedral, which is, I think, the largest in South America, has collapsed.
Australian tourist Andrew Eckel was among those who fled their buildings, surviving the 2 minutes of terror but traumatised by what he saw.
Those houses are just built into the mountainside, and unfortunately I just saw some of them completely disappear into the valleys.
It hit just after 7:30 on Monday morning local time, the most powerful earthquake to rock the country in a decade. In Praiera, the city's concrete university library proving no match for the force of nature. While travellers inside the international airport hold on to beams or shelter under tables. People frantically scrambling, running for their lives. Some didn't make it. Those who did make it out are now starting to dig, using just their hands or any tools they can find, searching for signs of life. From their president...
You are not alone. Colombia has a president who cares about the people and who will do everything in his power to help them in the most difficult moments.
Time is now critical as crews face a mountain of rubble in their search for survivors. Miley Hogan, 7 News.
The Reserve Bank may have kept interest rates on hold today, but it still delivered another crushing blow to borrowers.
It has forecast that inflation will remain high until the end of next year, which means high mortgage repayments will continue to hit family budgets for the next 18 months as property values plunge.
Trolleys full of relief.
The luxuries that we might have had last year are slipping away, but it is what it is.
The petrol prices, power, everything else keeps going up and up.
Today, one thing remains steady.
There it is, as predicted. Rates are on hold.
The cash rate unchanged at 4.35%. Concerns, though, inflation is still too high and won't be back in the RBA's target range until late next year.
The board will raise interest rates further if that is what is required to bring inflation down in a timely way.
Inflation has now moderated for 3 months in a row, but it is still higher than we'd like. There's still a lot of uncertainty going forward.
Uncertainty around oil, a tight labour market, 3 rate hikes and policy changes cooling a housing market, heating up this house.
Who argued that interest rates were too low?
The member for Goldstein will leave the chamber.
Kicked out before putting the boot in.
The Albanese government's plan has continued to be to stoke inflation, to tax inflation, to then spend inflation.
One of the big four revising its forecast made just 2 months ago. ANZ taking a knife to house prices, now predicting deeper declines closer to 15%. Sydney leading the slump, down 14.5% over this year and next. Melbourne almost 13%. More modest drops for Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide, with a recovery not expected until 2028.
It looks scary when you just look at your own house and its value dropping by itself, but you've got to put it in the context of the broader market.
The board didn't discuss a rate cut. We're told not to expect one this year. Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
The brother of an athlete and alleged victim in the Alan Jones trial has told how the former talkback king offered him generous gifts. It included an engagement ring for his wife, years before his brother revealed accusations of assault.
The Alan Jones trial has already had its share of high drama. Today, a little more. The internal alarms clearing the Downing Court complex, everyone evacuated, including 85-year-old Jones.
Bit of a dramatic way to end the day, Alan.
Probably happy for the early mark after a week of explosive allegations from the one-time athlete, complainant Jay. Today, his brother was in court, recalling Jones and his generosity when he mentioned he was getting married. I'd like to help you out with the gift, Jones said, a ring for your engagement. Jones, then the nation's wealthiest media personality, also bought him a Villeroy and Bosch dinner set for his wedding, plus a dishwasher, hampers and flowers for the family, on top of the car, phone and payments he'd given complainant Jay. Jay had last week claimed that at the lavish Fitzroy Falls estate, Jones and he wore bathrobes before the star, 40 years his senior, sexually assaulted him. When Jones was arrested in 2024, Jay broke his claims to his brother. The hardest thing I've ever had to tell you. I'm one of the people who've come forward. How bad, he asked. Nothing too bad. He never tried to me or anything like that. He would grab me on the and tried to kiss me. The hugs would go for longer.
After complainant Jay's brother, his then girlfriend was also called to give evidence here today, recalling the time he revealed his allegations to her straight after that night at Fitzroy Falls.
She says he told her not to tell anybody. He was really uncomfortable, looking downwards in embarrassment. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Jones is charged with 22 sex crimes. He denies them all. Chris Reason, 7 News.
A motorbike rider has died after colliding with a car at Campbelltown. The man, aged in his 20s, was thrown from his trail bike in the crash on Lindesay Street around 1 a.m. The 34-year-old woman behind the wheel of the car wasn't hurt. Police are investigating.
And a woman's in hospital after being hit by a garbage truck at Rydalmere. Police say she was on Victoria Road around 5 a.m. when she was struck by the vehicle on its morning rounds. The 30-year-old woman suffered pelvic and leg injuries. The truck driver tested negative at the scene for drugs and alcohol.
7 News can reveal tonight a global climate summit held in Fiji will be paid for by Australian taxpayers. Our government has agreed to foot the entire bill, coughing up tens of millions of dollars, and it seems major world leaders probably won't even turn up.
A pre-COP meeting in Fiji, and Australian taxpayers are copping the bill.
Chris Bowen is spending over $20 million of taxpayers' money planning on and broadcasting his own inauguration.
The Energy Minister, co-president for negotiations for COP31 in Turkey, committing Australian taxpayers to picking up the full tab for planning, running and broadcasting the climate change meeting in October, because host country Fiji can't afford it.
I mean, Chris Bowen has serious questions to answer here.
Oz tender documents obtained by 7 News revealing taxpayers are being quietly billed $17.2 million for event management and another $2 million for broadcasting services so the meeting can be seen around the world.
And this is just his ego way out of control at the expense of people suffering energy hardship in Australia.
Well, it's a really significant event and we're making that investment because of how important it is to our future.
Taxpayers have forked out another $2 million to reserve several Fijian resort hotels, though much of that is expected to be recovered when attendees pay for their own rooms. The $20 million, just a slice of the $150 million taxpayers will be billed in total to pay for Chris Bowen's role. A sensible investment, says the government, in supporting our Pacific neighbours.
Our relationships with the countries of our region is fundamental to the peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific.
Billed as a critical meeting for the Pacific, Mr Bowen has invited world leaders including US President Donald Trump, China's Xi Jinping, France's Emmanuel Macron, Japan's Sanai Takaichi and new British Prime Minister Andy Burnham. So far, not one is coming.
It's embarrassing every which way you look.
The coalition won't miss an opportunity to pull Australia down.
Copping it.
So let's go live to political editor Mark Riley now. Mark, the government claims this is value for money, is it?
Well, Mark, $150 million is a lot of money to spend on a curtain raiser for global conferences that you're not even hosting. So taxpayers are right to demand they do get a lot of value for that money. The Pacific has long been regarded as a front line in the climate challenge. So it does make sense to bring leaders here. But with so much going on in the world with wars and natural disasters and cost of living crunches in their own countries, it seems most, if not all, the big name leaders don't see the value in attending at all. Now, unless that changes in coming weeks, Chris Bowen will be left defending a Fijian flop.
Mark Riley in Canberra, thank you. It only happens once every 5 years, and tonight's the night. Australians are serving up a snapshot of who we are as a nation, filling in the census.
Millions have already finished theirs, with authorities reminding everyone it's compulsory and there'll be follow-up and fines if you don't complete it.
Hey!
Hi, good afternoon, Mark. How are you?
On the day everyone needs to be counted,
Tonight is the census night.
aged and disability carer Akriti is helping make sure.
Long-term condition, any health condition, nothing.
I believe in it. Just one of those things that we have to do.
A statistical ritual repeated in millions of homes for the nation's big search for answers about the nation.
Have you filled it out as yet?
I did yesterday evening.
Okay, how did you find it?
It was good. I mean, it helps, right? So then, we get to know, how many people are in Australia and, what people do.
What's going on with the housing? What's going on with the rentals?
Wick delighted to be adding a new Australian, daughter Selena.
Help government know, how many people that need help.
Many already completing it online.
We're sitting at around 5 million households responding, which is just fantastic. For some areas across the country where there's less reliable address information, we have been dropping off paper census forms.
The 5-yearly questionnaire reaching everywhere from ski resorts to cruise ships. For anyone in Australia tonight, it is compulsory.
Come with me, let's open together.
No matter where you're from.
I'm in Australia during the census.
Ya hemos recibido la carta del census.
Vivi in Australia, devi compilare il form per il censimento.
Things like age and cultural background make a massive difference to understanding how to support a community.
Questions like 31 on education have helped decide new schools for booming suburbs. Questions on getting to work helping inform a recent revamp of bus routes.
After tonight, the number crunching begins in earnest with the first answers about who we are as a nation today to be released in June next year. Paul Kadak, 7 News.